Hey folks, hope you're doing good today. Hope you're having a good week so far. Thanks for tuning in to the Unsigned Showcase. Today we've got an exclusive submission, a brand new band to the channel, and a band from all the other side of the world, from Tasmania. Now, it's not very often we get Tasmanian bands through on the channel. I think these might be the second or even third band from there that we've ever had. But Tasmania used to be a part of the world you'd hear kind of in the news or just in general vernacular because of the Tasmanian devil and the cartoons and stuff that used to be out in the 90s. Tasmania was big thing in the UK. Loads of people had Taz tattoos. There's a bunch of people in their late 40s, early 50s with Taz tattoos in the UK because it was just a thing at the time, like a fashion thing. Then it just kind of dropped off when the cartoons stopped going around. And now you really just don't hear, I haven't heard the word Tasmania in a long time. So it's nice to get a band from all the way over there and see what's hanging on over there and going about. The band is called Black Serenade. It is a Tasmanian melodic death / metalcore band known for their crushing riffs and haunting melodies, which sounds very cool. I've been looking through their page just a little bit. It looks like they've been going for a couple of years now, but this is their latest stuff that they're just putting out today that we're going to check out today. I did look on their YouTube page, and I'll get this quickly on the screen. They've got a couple of videos on there, some older lyric videos, which we might get to look at sometime in the future. But what I wanted to check out is some of their live stuff so that we can get to know the band a bit better and see that they've been playing live shows and whatnot. Here's a nice little section from the drummer that I checked out. Cool. I like that open-handedness, working the ride and the hi-hat at the same time, and a nice splash on the crash there. Sounded super dope. Looking cool. Nice little video there. You can check out the video of the drummer. But there's also a video of them playing the whole gig live, and I thought we'd just check out a few seconds of that so you can see what that's like. Cool. Looks good. You can see they got some nice gear on stage, cool Ibanez guitars, nice bass on there as well, Engel amps and all the rest of it. So they got some nice gear on there. And looking cool on stage. The only thing I'd say is I'd like to see a bit more movement out the other members of the band. You know, I always think when you get on stage, you might only ever be on stage, you might only ever be on stage a few times in your life, and you really want to make it count. So when you do get a chance to be on stage, give it everything, give it your all, act as if it's going to be your last chance to ever do this kind of thing. Because it might be, but then you'll really put your all into it. And that's what people want to see as well from the crowd. But today we're going to check out Call of the Void, which is their latest lyric video. I'm not sure if it's from an album or not. I think this is just a single at this stage, but maybe it's going to be on an album at some point that we'll get to hear. It's a nice long one at 4:59. Let's give it a spin. Hear that bass? Yeah, that bass comes through nicely.
Destroy everything inside. Stand the way of pain. Lies. Those who watch every day will someone else. There's no instruction. Nobody wants to know. No one can cause. I carry out now. Lies that are real. Down the rise. The moment. Self-reliance. All the fucking sound. Reality. Otherwise, so no way down. I'm there. Every time you let me advice on the line. Do it just great. And let the rest run. Stop breathing, stop the fucking sound. I need it all the way, so go way down. Life is only made by ways of the void. Do it just great, and let the rest run.
The bass sounds dope. Cool. I really enjoyed it. A nice mixture of classic metalcore, and then kind of the next stage of metalcore mixed together as well. Sounded great. Some nice cool riffs in there on the guitar. Wouldn't have minded to hear a bit of a solo. That's the only thing that I was kind of missing in there. A bit more lead work in this kind of music would be nice. But yeah, cool riffs, moving in the right way. The drummer did a nice job moving in the right way. He's got cool cymbals as well, and he works them in a good way, as we saw in the first video. But yeah, working the china in the right way and work the ride at the right time to get those stomping parts right. Sounds right. So yeah, these guys did a nice job. My only problem with this, and I kept looking over at the stereo just to make sure to see what was going on. That's why I love to have that stuff on the screen as well, because it gives me a lot of information about the mix side of things and what my ears are hearing, and it gives me a kind of a visual representation of what's going on the within the music and within the mix. The only thing that I would like to hear from this band going forward is more panning on the guitars. And if you looked over where they did have the guitars in each ear, you can see on the stereoizer that it wasn't even fully 100% either way. I think in this kind of music, to get the width, to get the thickness and the scope that you need from this kind of, that the listener expects from this kind of music, you need to pan your guitars 100% either way, and then you can probably do another layer as well at like 80 or 90% to thicken those edges up even more, to get more of a chunk and a chug on this kind of music, because it just suits it really, really well. And that's the only thing that I found with my listening with my ears in terms of the mix side of things. That bass tone was so fat, so grizzly, sounded amazing, cut through the guitars in a nice way, was a really nice bass tone. But because it was so big and because the guitars weren't panned that far, it actually kind of was competing with the guitars for its space within the mix. Whereas if the guitars had been panned further and wider, it wouldn't have had that competition quite so much, because there was a lot going down the middle. You know, when you haven't got much panned, everything's going down the middle and everything's competing for that center space. And when you got drums, we got bass, guitars, and vocals all competing for that space, there's just not enough room, you know. So you need to pan the guitars a bit further out for this kind of music. It'll make your music sound wider, thicker, chunkier, heavier within the guitars. You'll be able to hear the guitars better because they'll be round here more compared to in the center, and then that will leave more space for that fat, dirty bass tone, or the vocal stuff, the cymbals, and the you know, the nice big drum hits and double bass and all the rest of it. So that was really my only critique on this stuff going forward, is the mix side of things. And I'm not sure, I can't see on here whether these guys are mixing this themselves. I would guess there's a chance that they are doing that. And if that's the case, really cool that they are doing it themselves. But just pay a bit more attention to the guitar panning. If you're sending this off to someone and pay for it, tell them they need to learn a bit better about the guitar and panning, because that was the only thing that held this track back, in my opinion, because it made it thinner and not as wide as it should sound for this kind of genre, in my opinion. You can get away with thinner ones with kind of, you know, more old schooly, analogy, tapey stuff where it's all mishmashy. But in this, you know, classic metalcore edge, you want the chugs and the chunks to come through nice and clear. You want the double bass and the snare hits to come through nice and clear. And in order to do that, you need to give everything its space. So hopefully we hear more from these guys going forward. If they're doing their own mixes, I'd love to see more progression and see what goes on with that stuff. And if the next track, you know, things are panned out a bit further and the guitars are layered up a bit harder and things sound a bit heavier as a result, that would really give me a buzz to know that I've had a bit of a hand in, you know, helping these guys out with a few tips and tricks. But otherwise, we'll see with these guys whenever we see them next. I hope you've enjoyed these guys today and a few tips and tricks. Maybe if you're a homegrown band yourself and you're thinking to yourself, man, yeah, my guitars aren't sounding quite as wide and as chunky as I was hoping, or don't quite match that classic metalcore width that I'm looking for. Just try and pan your guitars a bit further. Try and do some more layers of the guitars to thicken them up in that way as well. Maybe even try and do an octave lower on the guitar. So you record your guitars, transpose it down an octave, and then have that underneath all the main guitars, just to create a bassiness within the guitars, a thickness within the guitars. Doesn't need to be as loud as the main guitars, but that's another way you can thicken up your guitars for this kind of music. Anyway, hope you're having a good week so far. That's it from me today. Hope you're having a good one. Cheers. Bye.